Mr. President. Sometimes what we do here is an example that national parliaments might consider emulating, just sometimes. And in my view, the process we have of having public hearings of candidates for the Commission before we take our vote of confidence on the Commission as a whole is an example that they might consider. Just imagine that if, when a government takes office in a national parliament before ministers take their office, if each minister had to go for a 3-hour public grilling, questioning, incisive questions before they took office, I think it would be revealing. We do it here, and I think it is to our credit, but what we do can always be improved. And my report has been about looking at how we operate this and making a number of suggestions about how we could improve this situation. Let me highlight just 3. First is precisely about the questioning, the incisive nature of these questions. We had in the last hearings 42, I think it was, questions by individual members to commissioners and 42 answers. I propose that we cut that number to about 25, but allow each questioner to come back with a follow-up question. That would be more incisive. That would permit a real to and fro. The purpose of the hearings is not to give the floor to a maximum number of members. The purpose is to get precise information and answers out of the candidate commissioners. The second proposal to improve things is to look at how we evaluate the commissioners after the hearings. At the moment, the coordinators from each group have a meeting, but our rules are not very clear on this. Indeed, our rules could, if you read them at the moment, require a vote in every single committee on every single commissioner at the request of just one political group. I don't think that's wise, because formally, legally, the only vote that matters is the vote by Parliament as a whole on the Commission as a whole. The vote by individual committees on individual commissioners has no legal consequence. Therefore, we've got to make sure it has political consequences and carries weight. In other words, even a vote on a commissioner should only be in case of genuine doubt and not a matter of routine. And then if, as we have seen in the past, if there really is a negative verdict, it has consequences. That is how I think we should proceed, and my report proposes to clarify the procedures in regard to that. A final point that I would mention is the question of gender balance in the Commission. This Parliament has always attached importance to improving the gender imbalance that exists up to now, but of course we are tied by the nominations that come from national governments, if they all just nominate one. Well, last time there's at least one country that nominated 2 and allowed the President of the Commission to choose. Why don't we institutionalise that and propose, we can only propose in this case as a Parliament, that each country, each government nominates 2 commissioners at least, one from each gender, 2 people in whom the national government has full confidence. But then the Commission President would be in a better position to get gender balance in the team as a whole. And that, I think, would go some way to improving the balance. Mr. President, there are some other suggestions in this report, but those, I think, are 3 worth highlighting. I urge colleagues to read the other suggestions as well, because they all would improve the situation. Thank you very much. I did save 1 minute of my speaking time to be able to come back at the end, but it will be very brief. It's first to say that I'm pleased that I gather there is quite a high level of consensus in this Parliament between the groups on what I've proposed, but I was delighted to hear that the Commission itself, and Mr. Timmermans went through in detail some of the things that I didn't have time to do in my speech, and on that the Commission is very supportive of the thrust of what I propose, indeed almost everything, I think, of what I propose, bearing in mind his caveat that the devil can be in the detail sometimes. But I'm very glad of that support. I thank him very much, and may I at the same time thank him for his earlier speech in the previous debate, which I think was an exemplary reply to that debate on human rights. Thank you very much.